At this stage you will need to render the drawing. You will need to start by rendering the tone. This just means putting different amounts of pressure on your pencil. We do this to make the drawing look more realistic. Every object that's in the light is affected by the direction the light is coming from, and also it's affected by what's around it. For example, if the object is in a room with just one light source and nothing reflective around it, then it would be easier to figure out which sections of the object are darker and which are lighter. This just means putting more pressure with your pencil on the sections that are supposed to be dark and less pressure on the other sections. The first thing you need to do is rub out any sections that are not needed, i.e. the crosses that were drawn to find the middle of the side and top. The next task is to work out where you would like the light source to be coming from and then draw a light bulb or a sun or maybe a cross. As you can see, I've drawn a small spotlight. The next task is to figure out which side of the object is the darkest. The darkest side is usually the side which is opposite the light source. In my case, it's the side with the handle on. I always start shading the area by drawing a thin border. This works like a buffer to help stop me going over the line. I also draw a border around any detailed sections such as the handle for the same reason. The next stage is to draw a wider border. At this stage I usually position my pencil at 45 degrees. If you keep it at 45 degrees the whole time, it tends to look more effective. I would never try to shade a large section in one go. This is because the chances of going out of the area are high. During this first section of shading, I have to make sure the pressure I apply to the pencil remains the same at all times. After I have shaded in the darker section, the handle doesn't stand out as well. To help it stand out, I go over the line of the handle with a hard pressure and a sharp pencil. Now I need to add tone to the handle. I start by shading the curve of the handle. In this case, I start shading the curve from the bottom by applying a firm pressure. This is because the light source is above the handle, which means the bottom of the handle will be darker. Now, gradually I lessen the pressure as you move around the curve towards the top and closer to the light source. Now shade the front face of the handle in the same technique and pressure as the side. Now shade the stick part of the handle using the same technique as the curve, where the bottom of the stick is darker and the top is a lighter pressure. The inside left of the frame should also be shaded with a darker tone because it's away from the light source, and it should also be shaded using the same technique as discussed before. The bottom inside section of the frame should be shaded using a darker tone when it's close to the left hand side because the left upright of the frame would be in the way of the light source. As you shade away from the left to the right, the pressure should gradually lessen because more light would be getting into the frame. Now shade the front face with a medium pressure. Because it's only a narrow section, I would shade in the direction of the frame, being careful not to go over the lines. When shading, it often helps to move the page around to help you position the pencil and make it more comfortable for you. It is also a good idea to go around the lines of any section with your pencil. Apply a firm pressure to make the lines stand out. Now shade the cam, follower and stick using the same technique that I discussed for the handle, remembering that the bottom of the curve should be dark because it's further away from the light and the pressure gets lighter gradually as it goes up towards the light. The next stage is to shade the top surface. This surface should be shaded with a light pressure because it's directly in line with the light source. I position my pencil at 45 degrees to make it look better. Go around the edge of the surface to help fill in any sections you might have missed. Now go over the stick that is connected to the design at the top with a hard pressure on your pencil to help it stand out. Next, draw a shadow on the top surface running from the stick directly away from the light source. The shadow should be the same thickness as the stick and gradually go from dark to a lighter tone. This is because the shadow is always darker when closer to the object. The next stage is to shade in the stick that connects to the character. Use the same technique discussed earlier about curved objects. In this case, the right hand side of the stick would be a darker pressure because it's opposite the light source. Now shade the right hand side of the design with a dark shade because it's the opposite side to the light source. Any sections that are in line with the light source need to be a lighter shade. The front section of the design should be shaded with a medium pressure because it's not in line with the light source or on the opposite side. You will now need to add a shadow to the right hand side of the frame and the front. Again, the shadow should be a similar shape and size to the object and run away from the light source. The tone should be dark when next to the frame and get lighter as it moves away. You can use your finger to help smudge the pencil markings of the shadow. Finally, go along the lines that are difficult to see using a sharp pencil and apply firm pressure.